welcome to my channel. My name is Brienne Beebe. I'm a high school math teacher and I love talking about everything related to productivity and organization for teachers. So I recently shared my secret 4-step formula to organize literally anything, and it's a system that I always use to organize basically anything. And one of the steps was to strategize how you're going to organize something. And I left that step vague on purpose because we were talking about organizing anything, but the strategies that you use are going to vary based on what you're organizing. Organizing physical items versus paper versus digital files and emails, they're going to need very different strategies. So if you didn't already catch my previous video, it was about the strategies that I use to organize my whole classroom, and today we are focusing on the strategies to organize paper. This video is meant to give you ideas on how you could organize some of the paper clutter that you have in your classroom, but I will also be sharing specifically what it is that I use and where I use it and how as well. So the first thing is binders. I may have gone overboard with the binders in the past, but hear me out. I just love them. It's like having your own book that you get to make and create, and you can move the pages around. Binders they're honestly really fabulous, but I've scaled back on how I use them, and I have sets of binders for each of my courses that I'm teaching. So all that I keep in my binders is answer keys. I find it's a lot easier to flip through a binder full of answer keys than to have to try and find a file, because if my computer is not turned on or it's not accessible to me at the time, it's difficult. But it's very easy to pull a binder off of a shelf and open up to the page that you need, especially when you put in binder dividers so everything's nicely separated. And my personal preference is to use page protectors. So page protectors are a plastic sleeve that you can put your papers in, and that way you don't have to hole punch them. It also preserves your papers nicely, and what I love is because I'm using my binders for answer keys, it makes it really easy when I'm grading to know which paper is the answer key versus which paper is the student work. Have you ever graded the answer key by mistake? It happens, but it happens a lot less when the answer key is in a page protector. Similar to binders, we also have folders. So folders are great for organizing a small amount of paper. You would never want to put too much in there. I'm partial to the poly-pronged folders, and you can get these. They're usually 50 cents at Target during back to school, and then Walmart, they're similarly priced. Also very abundant during back to school. I usually stock up. It's kind of sick if you saw how many folders I have that I'm not even using, just sitting in my classroom, because I had to have all the colors just in case, because you never know. So the pronged folders are really awesome because they have the prongs, and you can, well, what I do is I put page protectors in the prongs so that it kind of creates a book and it has everything I need in there. I have a blog post about how I use it for my small posters. I'll link that below, so you can check that out. But typically I use it for missing work for my students, or like when they have to make up tests, and I'll have a section of the folder for each class. This next one I think is probably the least favorite among teachers, but it's the filing cabinet. I have a filing cabinet. I don't use it all the time, but I like having it and knowing that it's there, and it's a place where I can put papers that I don't need to access frequently. That's literally what's in my filing cabinet. The papers that I have to keep, but don't want them in the way of anything else. I was a senior class trip advisor for 2015 and 2017, and the travel company said that we need to keep all the paperwork for 7 years. So it will be next year before I can finally get rid of the travel papers from the class of 2015, and I'm looking forward to it, but I wanted to have a place to put it where it's not in my way ever, and it's in my filing cabinet. The key to making a filing cabinet work is to have a set purpose for your drawers. So I have one drawer that has just teaching materials from my different courses that I hold on to, and each drawer should have folders in it that are clearly labeled. So in my drawer with all my teaching materials, It's full of folders that have the different units on them. So when I get to my right triangles unit, I can go to my right triangles unit folder, and then I have any posters that I like to put up on the wall or anything that I may have had left over. Sometimes we make copies and we don't get to use them, and so I'll throw them into the filing cabinet so that way I don't have to make copies the following year. This next strategy for organizing paper clutter is my absolute favorite, and I use this for everything. It's a hanging file holder. So a hanging file holder operates very much like a filing cabinet, except it's a lot smaller. They can fit on your desktop, they can fit on a counter, they can fit on a bookshelf, they fit anywhere, and they just hold hanging files. So I have one on my desk that I use for papers that I need to grade. I have one on the counter in the front of my classroom for papers that I need to pass back. I have one that stays behind my desk and it's used for organizing sub-plans for when I'm out. And then I had two that were on a shelf for my students to access. One of them has extra copies of papers that I passed out in class. So the end of the day, whenever I have these leftover papers, they would go right into those folders, and it was so easy to manage. Students knew where to look when they needed stuff. And then the other one for students was specifically for my SAT prep class, which I'm not teaching anymore, but it held folders that would hold on to their work for class, because we would often work on a packet of problems one period and then finish them the next. So it was just really easy for them to keep the papers in the classroom, especially because we were a class that met every other day. So it just made more sense, and that worked out for us really well. Similar to a hanging file holder, our next strategy is to use a filing box. And again, it's the same purpose as a filing cabinet, it's just smaller and more compact. The difference between the holder and the box is that the box is, well, a box. It's closed and more secure, and they're not as easy to find as they used to be. Because I know someone asked me, where did I get the one that I use for my sub-tub? And I don't think they make them anymore. I can't find it. But if you search around on Amazon, I'm sure you can find something similar. And so like I said, that filing box is used for my emergency sub-plans now, because it holds a lot, because I have to have like class sets for every course, and there needs to be at least 3 days in case of an emergency. And when I was in college, that was my filing cabinet. I think I may have forgotten to preface that these three were really similar, but the next one is a filing crate. So think filing holder, but bigger. So these are very easy to find around back to school time. Like Walmart will have a whole stack of these, and it's a crate and you can put files in it. Usually they have it so that if you put it one way, it will hold letter-sized folders, and if you turn it 90 degrees, it will hold legal-sized folders. So with the hanging file holder, the filing box, the filing crate, you want to use hanging file folders, have them clearly labeled, and then you can put your things in them. You know, your papers, whatever they are. So the filing crate in my classroom, what I use it for is my paper-based activities. So I have one that is purple because that's the color I use for all of my geometry classes. And every folder is labeled with things that I've used for my class. It could be like a scavenger hunt, task cards. There's this amazing symmetry activity that I use that I have it all contained in folders for each group. Just anything like that. Anything that I've had to laminate and cut out with the intention of using it year after year, it's in that filing crate. In an ideal world, I would be holding up all of these items to show them to you, but I only have two here today. This is one of them, the expanding file folder. Now, I don't bring work home to grade, but when I do, it's gonna be in one of these. So these are awesome because if you get a good one, they're sturdy. This one was from Staples. It was maybe $5 and it's lasted me for years. And I'm not quite sure what's in this one, to be honest. I think it's like memory type stuff. So it has these different sections that you can put your papers into. It's hard to see because it's clear, but they have tabs on them so you can organize. You could label these and put whatever's going to be in there. When I was chaperoning senior trip, I had the contracts in here, the emergency contacts, everything, and it was just nice and easy to separate, but also really easy to just fold up and carry with me everywhere. So joking aside, when I do use these, it's if I have a class in my classroom during my prep period and I have stuff to grade, I will take the classes that I have and put them each in their own section in here, bring it with me to wherever I'm going, grade it, put it back. That way it all stays organized and together. So all the papers from one class are together, all the papers from my next class are still together, and I love this. If I was a traveling teacher, I would definitely use one of these, and I would have like that hanging file holder on my cart. Another paper organization solution that I absolutely love is letter trays. So this is a letter tray that's from my desk, and this one in particular is from the Dollar Tree, and you can buy as many as you want. They're $1 each, and these ones are stackable, so you can create a stack as high or as small as you want. On my desk it's just these two. This one's to do, and then I'll have one underneath that is to file. And it's nice because if you are someone that likes to pile your papers, it lets you pile your papers but in an organized way where the piles stay together and it doesn't look crazy and it's not all over the place. Teachers often like to use these for students to turn assignments into, so they would label them with the different class periods, and students from those class periods would place their papers in the letter tray, and then the teacher would be able to see that they're there, because this is very visual. Like, it's not out of sight, out of mind like a filing cabinet is. You see when there's paper there, you can tell when there isn't paper there, so it's great for collecting work from students to grade. A lot of times when you find these, especially if you're looking for one for students to grade, they come like already stacked together from a different company. I feel like I've never seen one in person, but it's got to be at like Staples, right? And on Amazon. So these ones from the Dollar Tree in particular I love because, like I said, you can put as many as you want. They stack, and then they're also collapsible. So it's great for the end of the year when I have to clear off my desk and put things away into my cabinets. I can take the two that are there on my desk, collapse them into each other, and then just stow them away. But there's more on letter trays. So there are two different types of letter trays. This one that we've been referencing is when you have the side that's open. So there's like a front where you can put paper in and out. The other type of paper tray would have this closed, and it would be more like this. And that's what I use for distributing paper out to my students. So I'll have the letter trays by my door, and I have them color coded by class. So when my different classes come in, they see that the tray's there and they can just grab the paper that they need. Now those ones, they usually collapse into each other, but they're not stackable. Like, you won't be able to get to all the different papers at the same time like you will when you have that open front. Okay, my camera's like yelling at me, so I have to try to get these next two done quickly. We have Sterilite Drawers, which are great because you can buy the ones that are sized for paper. They hold the paper and they kind of hide the mess. This is also a great solution if you're someone that likes to pile your papers. Each pile can have its own drawer. Personally, I use them for copies that I distribute. So I have one drawer per class, and every copy that I have to hand out over the next week will be in that drawer. Other teachers like to use them to hold things to grade. They might have a drawer per class. There's so many different ways you could use the drawers. They're very, very versatile. And if you wanted more than just 3 drawers, which is what the Sterilite drawers come with, you could also get the Rainbow Cart from Michaels, and that is a 10 drawer paper holder. And our last solution to organize your paper is to transfer it into a digital file. This is fairly easy to do. I talk about it more in my blog post, so if you want more details, definitely check that out. It will be linked below. But when you have like a ton of paper and you want to like get rid of it, but you're not quite sure that you want to get rid of it yet, just transfer it into digital. You could scan it probably with your copiers at school, and on your phone, if you have an iPhone, you can use the Notes app and that will scan for you. If you don't have an iPhone, I don't know what you use, but there are apps out there that are specifically designed for scanning paper. And those are all of our paper organizing solutions. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions, leave them in the chat know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching.